San Francisco, eh? I hit this town 40 years ago. I came up from the city of the Angles.
You're kind of far from Hollywood here, right?
I think about as far as you can get, in a way, huh? Sometimes when you get too far, you miss part of it. Here, I don't miss nothing. This satisfies me. This place, yeah.
Do you have nothing but bad memories of Hollywood?
No, I have some good memories. But, not as good as most people who work in the business, because I was never really a part of the business. I lived down there, for quite a while. I lived down in San Pedro on a schooner. And then I remember in '49, I got a chance to work in a picture called Asphalt Jungle, which you may have heard of, with John Huston. And my agent said, hey, look, kid, if you're serious about being an actor, you better move up into town here. Huh? So I went up to Mandeville Canyon and rented a house. Marilyn Monroe lived there later. And then I lived in different houses around L.A., renting, always renting. Huh?
She was in Asphalt Jungle, was she?
That was her first film, I believe, her first primary film. Huh? I remember the day she came on the set, yeah. It stopped business. Everything stopped.
Do you consider Asphalt Jungle your first real part? I mean,
It was the first time I really took it seriously, you know, because I sort of did a funny thing. Unlike anybody that you or anybody might ever talk to. I started up near the top and worked my way down. Usually you start down here and you work up. I started in 1940 at Paramount with Madeleine Carroll, became my first wife, Fred McMurray, big picture called Virginia. Technicolor, da-da-da-da-da-da. And I didn't know my ass from my elbow. I didn't know which way upstage was. I was halfway through my second picture, and the director says, Mr. Hayden, take 2 steps upstage, and I went the wrong way, you know? Then when I got that thing with Houston, with John, something said to me, hey, and I think I put this in my first book, if you're going to be here, maybe you should learn what the hell you're doing. So then I was sort of serious.
How did you learn? I mean...
Oh, I don't know. At least I tried a little bit, you know. Before that, I think I just... I knew I didn't know what I was doing, which is a funny thing, because I don't think there are any other businesses in this world where you can be paid very good money and so-called semi-starred or whatever, and you don't know what you're doing.
How come you found in this position, being a star right from the start? I mean...
I didn't think it was really, I couldn't take it seriously because it seemed so ridiculous. It seemed so crazy, you know what I mean? I remember after that first picture, went back to Boston for the premiere. May I sit down? I went back to Boston and went to the Copley Plaza Hotel, had a big suite, had a motorcade going to the theater, police escort, and we go through the rain, and I see a sign up on the marquee, says, Paramount proudly presents Virginia starring Madeleine Carroll, Fred McMurray, and Boston's own Sterling Hayden. And I thought, bullshit, you know. A year ago I was in this town working in ships, Boston's own.
How did you get to Hollywood? I mean, how did you get this contract at Paramount? What happened?
In 1938, I'd been going in ships for 6 years, something like that, and I was in a big fishing schooner race, and my picture was on the first page of the Boston paper, and it said, Gloucester fisherman looks like movie idol. And I was very embarrassed, because I was working with fishermen. I thought, me? And the next thing I knew, I went to New York, and I was working on the docks in Brooklyn, and I came back to my rooming house and had a message, call Mr. Edward H. Griffith, Hampshire House, Paramount Pictures. And I went up there and talked to him, and he said, we'll make a test. I didn't know what a test was. And so they made a test, and I was very, very nervous, and I could not remember the dialogue. And a friend of mine who was an artist came down from Boston with a pint of whiskey. And he said, what you need is this. And we went to the men's room, and I drank half the pint, you know, and then I felt a little better. I tested with Jeannie Cagney, James Cagney's sister. And next thing I knew, I had a contract. Huh?
For how many years?
Oh, 7-year contract, you know, starts at $250 a week and goes to 7,000. But I did 2 before, and then the war came along, and I was gone 5 years in the war. That looks a little better, doesn't it? Yeah. Another thing about that island, you know Angel Island? It's the same dimension as Pitcairn Island, you know, where the Bounty was. Yeah. And that island is always black at night, as you'll notice if you're wandering around here tonight. There's no lights on that island. It's rather nice in the middle of the bay.
You also had to test for Acid Jungle. Was it usual for you to test for a picture?
Well, I guess it was, it varied for everybody. Sometimes they test even people who knew what they were doing, you know. And I always thought it was very logical I should test, yes, yeah.
Do you remember that test?
Very well, yeah.
With whom did you do it?
A girl named Jeannie Hayden, who was in the, Jean Hagen, who was in the picture, who played my girl in the picture. I think I wrote about that rather well in my first book because I said that I was very, testing is terrible, you know. It's terrible, testing, right? You come in, you're cold, you don't know anybody, eh? Let alone for me, right? And, but Houston, he said, just take it easy, just take it easy. And he made me feel good. And then when they signed me, I thought, well, huh? I'm always thinking that on a picture. No, I'm cool, man.
Did you know him before?
No. I hardly knew anybody. Yeah. Strange way they work, huh? Yeah. Christ. I remember thinking after the war, I came back after those first 2 pictures, and had seen a few difficult times in the war, you know, Yugoslavia. I thought, well, now I ain't going to be nervous. What's there to worry about now? And the first picture after the war was with called Blaze of Noon with Bill Holden and a whole bunch of people. And the same old problem.
Yeah.
That, of course, is 1946.
That was a series of bad pictures that you...
Yeah, that was the beginning of the downward thing.
What kind of pictures were they?
Oh, those 10-day westerns, you know. And I never was really comfortable with a horse, particularly. And the horse always knows it, you know.
But it's funny because you, in France, you're also known, you know, as Johnny Guitar, and that's a western.
I know that's a popular picture in France, particularly. Yeah.
Did you like the picture?
I wasn't too happy. Because I was at war in the daytime with Joan Crawford and in the nighttime with my second wife. And again, no, I did not like that picture. No, and I did not know enough about the business to really appreciate who Nick Ray was, you know, or what he was. Half the time I'd do a picture, I wouldn't know what the story was. Look, I couldn't play the guitar. They had string like you tie up a grocery bag with, in case I hit it by accident, it wouldn't make a noise. I can't sing worth a goddamn, And I really can't ride, and I'm not a gunfighter. Well, now you ask yourself, how do you feel? I did one picture. It was a western, and I had to make a quick mount where you come over the ass of the horse, you know what I mean? From the bar, I come out of the saloon, I go right over the ass, and away I go, and I lead a cavalry charge. I practiced for 2 weeks or 3 weeks with a rodeo cowboy to teach me how to, But the one thing I did not really get to learn to do was how to pick up the stirrups with my feet. Now we shoot. 80, 90 cavalry. I come out of the goddamn saloon, I go over the ass of the horse, and away she goes, and I go right back over his tail, you know? Yeah. Slowest draw west of the Rhine. Well, well. Well.
What were the problems with Crawford on the set?
She just apparently was unhappy with everybody. She was unhappy well, she's dead now, so maybe I shouldn't say anything. But on the other hand, since you asked me, she was difficult. You know, I think when a woman has that reputation, she was temperamental. Eh? I saw her with her little boy, whose name I think was Chris. And here we're out in Arizona, and Chris comes in a limo from Beverly Hills, and he has a little suit on with a little necktie. And here is surrounded with, what, 150, 180 people making a bloody film. And she was correcting his manners as he sat there. And I thought, and I remember saying, leave him alone, huh? Huh? Nick said once that maybe she was a little unhappy because well, I won't say that. I remember she tore a phone out one night, ordering a limo, talking to her agent. She ripped the phone right out of the phone booth, you know. And I've always thought, even though I knock myself like this in a way, but I've had strong feelings about how people should behave. And I like people who are warm and open, eh? And cooperative, decent, eh? And I saw a thing when we were back in the studio. We're back in the studio, and she had to change her clothes. And she elected to change her pants out in the middle of to be quick, huh? Professional maybe. But I looked away. Huh? Usually I will look at a woman changing her pants, huh? If I can. Huh? And I looked up at the electricians, and they're all looking away too. And I thought, holy shit, you know. I mean, holy smoke. Can't swear. Yeah, well, strange way to work, huh? Well, to tell you the truth, I started writing when I was about 17. I wrote a story when I was fishing off Boston, and I sent it in to the Reader's Digest, of all places. And, of course, it was sent back. And over the years, down in Hollywood, I always wanted to write. And I was scared of it, too. Huh? I used to think, how the hell do you begin? Huh?
You were one of the first to write about, you know, the blacklisting period. Was it very important for you to write about this?
Yeah, it's the only thing I've ever done in my life that I am genuinely ashamed of. And when it came to the time to write about it, I thought, well, there's only one way to write about it, and that's write what I feel, eh? And I called myself what I know I was, which was a four-letter word begins with S, and ends in T. And I'm glad I did. I felt, and I still feel, if you're going to say, or you're going to write about your own life, you better damn well say it the way it was, as best you can. But it still, I guess, in a way, it still haunts me, huh? Because I was a rat, huh? And the man I mentioned that I came up here to see in Sausalito, a man named Tompkins, I betrayed him. I gave his name to the committee in Washington, and he was making educational pictures in Los Angeles. And I was on the witness stand in Washington, and the next morning at 9 o'clock, he was fired. Well, how do you live with that?
So do you think that they didn't know these people you gave names of, or they wanted you to crack down? I mean, they wanted you...
That, you see, that's a good question. The whole trouble, the terrible thing about that period was they knew it all. That was the trouble. I went to the FBI because I thought the Korean War was on. And I had a big lawyer there named Martin Gang. You may have heard the name. And I said to Martin, suppose I want to go back in the Marine Corps. And I'm asked the question, are you now or have you ever been a member of the Communist Party? And he said, we'll write a letter to J. Edgar Hoover. He writes a letter to Hoover, and Hoover says the only thing for this man to do is go to the FBI in L.A. and say what he knows, and then he's clear. It'll never be out in public. I did that. And then about 8 months or 10 months later, the The FBI gives all its files to the House Un-American Activities Committee, and they put me on the stand like a patsy, you know. They knew everything, sure. That was the trouble with it.
But they wanted you to be on the stand and...
They wanted to hear me, as Larry Parks said, grovel. Larry Parks said, don't make me grovel in the mud, huh? Well.
Why did you have to go?
Because I was weak. I don't know why. I have no excuse. I have no excuse.
To save what?
I just didn't want to go to jail, maybe. I didn't want the hassle. I was no longer in the Communist Party. You see, it's complex, huh? Because I guess I can say honestly, I was a romantic communist. I was in the Communist Party because I'd been in Yugoslavia with Tito's partisans, and I liked everything I saw. And I was, you know. And I remember when I first went to a couple of meetings. I don't know, everything's confused, isn't it? Huh? And maybe he felt, I don't know, obviously he felt he could get something. To tell you the truth, I don't really know. I do know that when Kubrick came to town, my agent, Bill Schifrin, called me and he said, there's some weirdo out here from New York who's supposed to be a bloody genius, and he's got a script that people think is great. He said, but some of us know better. He said, and the trouble with this script is that he tells everything 5 times from 5 different points of view, and he mentioned the film Rashomon, remember? And I liked very much watching, I liked Kubrick. He was sort of cold then, but something told me, because I'm not entirely as stupid as I make out, maybe, I respected him, and I liked the way he shot, and I loved the way the camera was always moving, and we were moving, everything was moving, and I had a pretty good time on that picture. Had a great time with Elisha Cook, had a great time with everybody, as I remember it.
Did you share your agent's opinion of the script when you read it?
Well, at that point, half the time I would work and not even know what the script was. I'd read the part and figure if I could perhaps get away with doing it. But in terms of somebody said to me, hey, Hayden, here's $1 million tax-free to tell us what happened, I couldn't tell you. Well, I guess I'm not the one to say. I've seen very little of myself on film. Usually because I feel uncomfortable in what I see, even when it's good, even when what passes for being good. I guess the story I've told more often than any is when I worked with Kubrick in Strangelove, and Lord knows it was a magnificent picture. We all know that, and apparently I pulled my weight in it. But I went through the worst day of my life, the first day on that picture, because I began to blow in my lines, and I went 48 takes at Shepperton Studio. And I had the cigar and all the dialogue, the military jargon, you know, and I'm beginning to blow and blow and blow. And something said to me, sure, I'd had trouble before, you know, talking about 8 takes, 10 takes, 12 takes, huh? But now we're getting up into 20, eh? And now we're doing, as you know, what are called pickups. And I can't even do one damn line, eh? And I'm pouring sweat, and they're mopping me off. Now, a beautiful thing happened, speaking of Stanley Kubrick. I finally got up. I couldn't take it anymore. And I walked up to him and I said, Stanley, I apologize to you. And he said this to me, one of the loveliest things any man has ever said to me in my life. He said, Sterling, I know you can't help what's going on, and you know I can't help you. He said, but the terror in your eyes, on your face, may just be the quality, and now he said, the quality that we want in this jackass General Jack Ripper. He said, if it does not, come back in another couple of months and we'll do it all over again. Now, that was lovely, wasn't it? I'll never forget that. And I came back, I went out with Kitty across from Brown's Hotel there and had, I don't know, maybe what, 2 or 3 double shots of Black Label, and went back and no pot, it worked out. That's inverse acting. Eh? Houston and Altman, I don't think they are aware of it perhaps, but they each said something to me that was right to the point. They said right after we started working, maybe 2 or 3 takes or something, 2 or 3 shots, and each in his own way said, just keep on doing whatever it is you're doing. And there's nothing better that a director could say to a ex-male starlet than that, is there?
Ex-male starlet?
Well, you know, I used to call myself a male starlet, you know, playing back on the old days when all the studios had the stable of people just in from soda fountains or ships or wherever we came from and didn't know what we were doing, eh? And they were grooming us to be.
How did it feel?
Eh?
How did it feel to?
Oh, I felt pretty foolish on the other hand. One doesn't ask too many questions. I had the feeling, I came out to Hollywood to get enough money to buy a schooner. As a friend of mine said in Boston, well, you dumb, whatever he called me, he said, why don't you go out there and take the money? He said, you get to meet some girls. There are no girls in the fishing fleet, huh? And they pay very heavily on Thursday, and take the best of it and get yourself a vessel and get out of town. Well, it took me 17 years to get out of town, but I finally got the schooner and got out of town. Partially, anyway.
Dick.
Huh?
Oh, my God, Dick.
Damned if I know. Damned if I know.